The Pentagon has released audio and video of two very confused pilots staring down an unidentified flying object that rotated and maintained a glowing aura, as part of a secret program that investigated the existence of UFOs and aliens for 5 years at the behest of a former major Democratic leader, Harry Reid. Between 2007 and 2012,
what do you think of Robert Lazar? Do you think that guy's real?
I'm putting out his autobiography.
So you do think he's legit?
You should read his book. Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's a fascinating character, right?
He is. His story's really interesting too. Where he really fucked up though, so for the people that don't know that are listening, he's a guy that came out. He's the reason we know about Area 51. He literally is the guy that broke the story of its existence. He got brought in for a job, and during the interviews, they said, "We have another idea for you." And they put him in a place he claims had all these discs, and he was on a back engineering team as a physicist.
Describe the gravity amplifiers for us and some of their different operating configurations.
There are 3 amplifiers. The craft can operate on a single one, can lift off the ground. The way in which it's propelled are 2 different ways. There's what they call Omicron configuration, where the craft is using one generator, or a Delta configuration, where it's utilizing all 3. Delta configuration would be for space travel. Essentially, the craft will tilt up on its side, as opposed to a science fiction movie where you see a flying saucer moving around. The craft will tilt up on its side, focus the 3 gravity generators to a single point, and move through space that way. Moving around the source of gravity is a problem to a disk because it's interference, essentially. So what they do is they work with that interference to their benefit. They'll use one gravity generator to lift the craft off the ground. And as opposed to what we're used to, for instance, a plane, once it's in the air, we envision thrust or some force coming out the back of it to push it forward. The crafts work completely opposite of that. What they do is once they're hovering in the air, they'll swing the 2 remaining gravity generators up in front of them and create a distortion, essentially a downhill. And the craft rolls downhill for infinity. It's always chasing a little distortion. That's why they look goofy when they fly around at low speed, because they're essentially, and any time you run over, the gravity field around the Earth is not completely constant and stable, depending on the minerals and density of the Earth underneath it. The gravity will vary somewhat, and you will get odd movements of the craft. So its low speed mode is kind of unstable for the most. Delta configuration would be for space travel. Essentially, the craft will tilt up on its side, as opposed to a science fiction movie where you see a flying saucer moving around. The craft will tilt up on its side, focus the 3 gravity generators to a single point, and move through space that way.
Between 2007 and 2012. Between 2007 and 2012.